Welcome, everybody, to Transit, the last meeting of the year. Oh, welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming to the final Transit meeting of the year. As always, we welcome the chair of our parent authority, disguised here as a New York Giant football player, Joe Loda. Thanks for joining us. Are there public speakers?
Yeah, bad weekend, huh?
Okay, Murray?
Well, good morning. My name is Murray Bowden. This is for the record because I have two new grandchildren who are now going to watch these things, so I have a new one. I was reading the Daily News this morning. Pete Donahue, Pete, you're up today. He wrote an article about off-track, about repairing and cleaning up the tracks, and it is absolutely wrong and misleading. When Hurricane Sandy hit, I was at a bar mitzvah out in Denver, Vail actually, and we got caught there for 3 days. The subway system was shut down for days. Millions of people were inconvenienced. It was quicker because you made the decision to implement something that's been on the books and nobody else had the gut to implement. Shut the system down for so many nights and clean it. And now you've taken the next step, which is correct. But the newspapers get it wrong. They don't compliment you. They say a few people are inconvenienced. The storm inconvenienced millions of people. If you're going to clean the subway, you're going to have to shut it down. I read that you will probably keep one line open part at a time. Well planned. But I am furious with newspaper reporters who, to sell newspapers, misrepresent the facts. The facts are they're doing an excellent job, Pete, and that's what you should be writing. This is going to go on a number of places. They're talking about the Tappan Zee Bridge, and some lady is going to not like the view. Lady, you've known it for 10 years. If you didn't like the view, move. It's the planning for the mass of people, the millions of people who run the system that's most important. And you're doing an excellent job, and I'll continue to stand here and say you're doing an excellent job. And that's the kind of thinking...
Please sum up, Mr. Bowden.
Who said that?
I did.
Where are I? Oh, over there?
Yes.
I have decided that I'm going to follow the written rule and the one that's actually enforceable. You can't enforce whether or not I stand here and overspeak. You can't, because it's not a written rule. I choose to change procedures simply to get people to think about what we've always done and accepted as being that's the way it is. Metro-North had a meeting up in White Plains. They didn't have time to talk to me. They sat in the back room. It was pro forma. It was a sham. These things should not be shams anymore. They should be responsive to what we have to say up here. This is one of the few places, the number of units of the MTA that really works well. I will stand up and complain and tell you, you could be polite, and I will not stop until I'm ready to stop. And if you want to have me arrested, you have to warn me 15 seconds before, and I told them that they can't touch me unless I'm warned and I have an opportunity to respond correctly. Thank you. I've been warned.
Thank you, Mr. Bowden.
All right. The minutes from our last meeting are in the book. Are there any additions or corrections? Yes, Andrew.
It's a correction to a correction, actually.
Oh, okay.
Under number 3, minutes and work plan, it should read Bleecker Street, Broadway, Lafayette, two-way connection. That's what it should read.
Okay, the minutes are duly amended, quite right. Are there any other changes? I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as amended by Andrew. Second? All in favor? Any opposed? Minutes are adopted. Are there any changes to the work plan? This is usually a simple question, but now it's going to get a long answer.
Well, not this month. There are no changes to the work plan. But at the committee's meeting in January, As is customary, I will present for the committee's approval a proposed work plan for 2013. Because there are going to be 8 meetings next year instead of the usual 11, the proposed work plan will be different than it has been. Also, beginning in January 2013, the Transit and the Bus Committees will be combined. Therefore, the proposed 2013 work plan will incorporate reports and items affecting both buses and subways. We have included at page 2.6 a proposed work plan for 2013 so the members of this committee have an opportunity to review it in advance of the January meeting when they will be asked to approve it as proposed or as it may be modified by committee action at that time. The reports and other items listed are no different than what they've been in 2012, but the months when they will be provided will necessarily be different in a few cases.
Thank you, sir. We will now hear our operations report from Tom Prendergast, even though he is reeling by this unexpected praise from the last public speaker. Tom?
For the operations report, I will now turn over that to Carmen Bianco, Senior Vice President of Subways.
Thank you. Good morning and happy holidays to all. As was the case in September, as we look at the October performance, the IRT, on the IRT, in terms of on-time performance, experienced a number of disruptive incidents that impacted both weekday and weekend on-time performance. This is coupled to the issue of high customer ridership, high levels of ridership. In October, we had several very significant incidents that impacted on-time OTP in the 2 to 3, the 4, and the 5. And in addition to that, we had some track panel work during the weekdays that had impacted the 2 and 5 results. We continue to see delays for the month. They're centered around 3 specific issues: right-of-way, track gang, and overcrowding. And that's in the track gang and the right-of-ways. That's truly your scheduled and unscheduled work that has to go on, either out there to fix or repair, or do critical maintenance that's necessary, and high levels of ridership. When we couple those 3 areas together, that accounts for about 62.8% of the total weekday delays and 63.3% on the weekends. Even with those service disruptions, both weekday and weekend weight assessment in the IRT improved by 2.7 and 3.5% respectively, which means our customers continue to experience the higher levels of service regularity and reliability. The 12-month rolling average for subway weight assessment weekday was 79.5% in October of 12. That's up 1 percentage point from October of 11. Moving on to mean distance between failure, it decreased as compared to October of 11 at 147,905 miles. It was down 12.8% from where it was in October of 11. The 12-month average was 164,538. That was down 4.1%. Moving on to key performance indicators, the system-wide service KPI was 82.2%. That was down just 0.3 of a point. As was the PES scores was also down 0.3 of a point at 90.8%. Staten Island's PES score continued to improve at 91.6%. That's up 7.2% from its October 2011 performance. Moving on to overtime, Subway's overtime results through October of 12 exceeded the forecast budget by $17 million. That's both on the scheduled and unscheduled side. Primary OT drivers were $7 million associated with vacancy and absentee coverage for train operators, conductors, station agents, and station cleaners. $5 million in the area of maintenance and inspections, principally in the area of signals, and $2 million, which is part of the cash-in that occurred earlier in the year. We continue to monitor overtime closely and have increased hiring levels in service-critical positions where vacancies are filled currently with overtime. In addition, we're restructuring employee schedules and work processes in the critical maintenance areas to ensure high levels of production from employees during their normal work hours and to reduce the amount of time that's needed on overtime. Finally, I'd just like to highlight some current situation as a result of Superstorm Sandy and the incredible efforts of our employees to bring nearly the entire network back as we speak today. We continue to restore service in the Rockaways. As you recall, we had two very significant washouts in the Rockaways that impacted the track, power, and signals. They're out there working very diligently. Hopefully we will, at some point in the future, have a better handle on exactly when we'll be bringing that back. But that work continues, and we're happy to see that. We'll be happy to see that come back. We anticipate the Montague Tube, which is where we will reconnect the R service. We hope to see that on December the 21st. Again, we're working around the clock. It's a very complicated area, very complex with signal equipment. And this was one of the tubes that actually flooded from track level right on up to the ceiling. And in this tube, which makes it unique with others, there's actually a cut in there, if you will, a switch, and so there's very critical signal equipment down there, which we didn't have in other tubes. So all of that was impacted, and that's and it's very complicated for us to bring it back. But we continue to work through this through recovery. And I just wanted to take the moment to thank the 27,000 employees of Subways for all that they've done. But you know, when you think about 2012, it was an incredible year for us in many other areas. First of all, we'll hear a presentation in a short while on Fast Track. That initiative has been, just an incredible initiative for us in terms of accomplishing large amounts of work, improved levels of safety, and you'll hear some of the statistics as we go through the presentation later. Keep in mind, we went through one of the hottest summers on record. And we had air conditioning. If you recall, over the summer, our cars it was cool. It was a place where you could find comfort. And we were running that performance at about 99% on the AC for that very large fleet we have. And also over the year, as you've told us, we needed to be more vigilant on elevators and escalators. We've done that. And our performance today, quarter over quarter, continues to improve. So as I don't have enough opportunities to thank those that work in the Department of Subways. So I just want to make sure I do that here today. Just an incredible group of people. They worked hard and they really make the system work. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. Any questions for Dr. B? I don't know whether that would take.
No, Bianco's too easy to say. Carmen, these right-of-way delays, this almost 6,000 number, are these late departing GOs we're talking about?
No. It could be because of flagging. It could be because we have scheduled work out there. So it cuts across. It's not late departures, but certainly that could be in it. That could be part of it.
I mean, if we have a failure of a component during rush hour, you're going to delay a lot of trains.
Yeah.
If you had a switch problem,
So that's all in this number.
It's all embedded in that number.
Chuck?
First, Carmen, Tom, and your colleagues, I think the public owes you guys and your associates and colleagues a gold medal for what you have done in the course of the past few months. Job you have done together with the working people who do it is without equal, and you deserve the full credit for a spectacular job. I have two minor questions. On page 3.2, there is reference to the work experience.
And Chuck today.
Pardon me?
Excuse me. Carry on.
The work experience program to which you have reference with 961 participants towards a goal of 1,500, is that work fair?
Yes.
And what are they doing?
They are helping us cleaning in the area of cleaning stations.
If you traverse the system today and you see people with a light green vest on, I think that's the vest they wear.
It's almost a lime green.
They're supplementing the existing cleaning forces we have in the subway. After some 20 years of service in this organization, we can never have enough cleaners. So the ability to supplement our cleaning forces, who do a very good job with the work experience program resources, is something that gives us a benefit we would not have otherwise.
What kind of experience do they get?
Well, we've hired a number of people from that program as full-time employees. I can get you the numbers, but from the first program as well as the second program, we have hired people that have become full-time cleaners, and there have been articles in the newspaper about those cleaners. We've actually changed their lives.
The last time I saw a number,
Terrific.
Chuck, which is probably has changed, we had hired 50 people this year into the ranks and actually give them a second chance, a full-time job and benefits. So it's
That's magnificent.
yeah, it really is.
The second minor thing is a comment. I want to congratulate you for moving the Bronx ahead of Brooklyn, and at least one other place. We are no longer at the bottom of the pile on stations. I congratulate you.
Thank you, sir.
Andrew?
That's great news about the Montague Tube coming back. Is it fair to say at this point that you anticipate that Rockaway service will be back before South Ferry?
Yes, I mean, we still have not been able to do a full assessment as to the extent of damages at South Ferry. Once that's done, we have to make some reasoned decisions in terms of to what level do we want to restore it. We may restore it to the same exact level it was before, the day before. We may not, but we need to make and take that decision with respect to how much money that we have. But I think it would be a fair statement to say that it's more likely we would get the full Rockaway service back before we would be finished at South Ferry.
Thanks.
Anyone else? All right, the chair and the president now recognize Cheryl Kennedy.
Okay. The safety results were as follows. In the month of September, the accident rate decreased by 2.9%, moving to 2.69 per million subway customers from a rate of 2.77 in September last year. The subway customer accident rate also decreased by 8.6% over the previous 12-month period. The employee lost time accident rate decreased by 22.1% for the month of October 2012 versus October 2011. The rolling 12-month rate was 3.12, down 8.2% from 3.4 from the previous year. There were 69 confirmed fires for the month of October, down 25.8% from the month of October 2011. Additionally, fires decreased over the last 12 months by 25%. 98.6% of all fires were categorized as being low or average in severity for the month of October. Contributing to the reduction in fires was the removal of debris and steel dust and the cleaning of insulators during fast track. Year to date, through October 2012, fires in fast track areas were reduced by 57.7% from 71 to 30 versus year to date October 2011.
You have a perfect record.
Yes.
You commenced with perfection and you've continued to improve.
Thank you.
Not bad. Chuck?
Just a quick question.
Sure.
On page 3.35, debris on the right-of-way generated 25 fires. I take it that the majority of those were outside of the fast-track area. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. We've been doing very well in the fast track areas.
Good.
Any further questions? Joe, you want me to skip you?
Wait, I have a question about the fires.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't see anywhere, maybe I missed it, where we track delays associated with the fires. Do we do that?
I don't know if we track it and cull it out, but we could probably go back and then recreate. But by and large, and because of the great reduction in fires, that's not a major cause of delays.
There is a column, if you look at
Yeah,
page 3.8.
3.8.
It's down there, and there's 421 delays associated with it.
All right, Chief Joseph Fox.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Good morning. During the month of November, the Transit Bureau experienced a decrease in subway crime. Total major felonies were reduced by 11%, or 26 incidents. November saw a decrease in robberies of 22% and a decrease in grand larcenies of 12%. Of the 210 major felonies, 85 or 40% were committed in Manhattan, 30 or 14% were committed in Queens, 58 or 27% were committed in Brooklyn, and 37 or 17% committed in the Bronx. I'm pleased to point out that this marks the 5th straight month where there was either less crime or no increase in crime committed in the subways compared to the same period in 2011. And so far this month, we have a 13% reduction as well. Each month I speak about strategies that yield positive results. One of our most basic strategies is our enforcement efforts, which continue to remain strong. Total arrests since the beginning of this year are up 2.7% over the same period in 2011, which is an increase of 1,162 total arrests. Arrests for theft of service are up 16%, which is an increase of 3,425 year-to-date. Tragically, on December 3rd, the Transit Bureau experienced the first homicide of 2012. 58-year-old Han Ki-suk was pushed onto the track bed at 49th Street and 7th Avenue Station by Naeem Davis. As Mr. Suk attempted to climb back onto the platform, he was struck and killed by a southbound Q train. Excellent work by all those involved in the response, and the investigation quickly led to the arrest in the case the following day. Our response to this tragedy was immediate. We mobilized our officers and worked jointly with New York City Transit to investigate the incident, apprehend the perpetrator, and reassure the riding public. As the holiday season is now well underway, our recent operations have been focused in this busy time of the year. Each transit district has activated its holiday plan, which dedicates specific deployment to shopping areas within its boundaries. I have added additional patrol coverage in busy areas such as Queens Center Mall, Atlantic Terminal, and Fulton Mall, and with the community safety in mind. In Manhattan, we have restarted our initiative known as Operation Gift Box. This program focuses on the busy shopping areas in Midtown Manhattan, such as Herald Square, Times Square, Rockefeller Center, and Union Square. Our holiday plan is further supplemented by our specialized units such as K-9, Homeless Outreach, and Impact, all of whom are heavily invested in this effort. Our decoy program also plays a major role in the Transit Bureau holiday crime reduction efforts. This program involves using a decoy officer to catch a perpetrator actually in the act of committing a larceny. Recently, I have increased the frequency of these decoy operations throughout the subway system. This year, there have been 67 arrests resulting from decoy operations within our subways. 45 of those arrested, or 67%, had a prior arrest history, and 26 of them had a history of major felony crime arrest. It's clear that these operations have proven to be very successful in apprehending some of our most persistent offenders. On November 29th, officers from our Transit Borough, Bronx, and Queens decoy team conducted such an operation on the 4 line in the Bronx, leading to the arrest of Torrance Irick, who was observed removing an Apple iPhone from the decoy officer. Irick, a 41-year-old career criminal with 46 prior arrests, is currently in custody. On November 19th, a similar operation conducted by Lieutenant Shane Beatty and his decoy team on a 7 line in Queens led to the arrest of Carlos Correa. Correa is a known pickpocket with 43 arrests, including 3 for robbery, 6 for grand larceny. He is currently in custody as well. Irick and Correa, both career criminals with extensive arrest records, are excellent examples of the type of perpetrators we often encounter in our decoy operations. Along with these operations comes the need for relentless follow-up. At previous meetings, Mr. Alan Capelli and other board members have made suggestions regarding persistent offenders. One way we deal with these recidivists is with our parole stipulation program. When a prisoner with a history of committing crimes in the subway is about to be released on parole, Transit Bureau investigators work with the subject's parole officer to put a stipulation on the prisoner's parole. The parolee will either be banned from using the subways or have his or her access limited to specific times or specific reasons. The parolee's picture is then displayed in all commands. If an officer encounters a parolee violating the stipulation, the subject's parole officer is notified, and a determination is made whether the offender's parole should be revoked. Currently, there are 51 parolees stipulated with the subway condition. Since November of 2011, the parole stipulation program has assisted in having 47 recidivists parole revoked due to subway use violations. Tracking these recidivists and holding them accountable for their parole conditions is an essential part of our post-arrest strategy. Programs like these ensure that we are using all available tools to keep our subway safe from criminals who prey on our subway passengers. I thank Mr. Joe Loda, Tom Prendergast, Carmen Bianco, and the members of this board for your continued support. I wish everyone a happy holiday season, and I welcome any questions or suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I've said this before, we are very lucky to have you and everybody from the New York City Police Department. Thank you very much.
Very
Chuck?
kind, Mark. Thank you.
I echo those comments. Let me ask you 2 questions. You gave us some statistics earlier about people who had been arrested on numerous occasions and were back doing it all over again. Do you track can we get the information as to, after they are repeatedly arrested, as to what conviction rates occur and as to what sentences the courts impose?
Chuck, that would probably be best to go to each corresponding DA. We obviously have access to that, and we work with the DAs right throughout prosecution. But I don't think this would be the forum for me to present that.
May I request that, if possible, management ask the DAs for that information? My hunch is, given the superb activity of the police department, the ball, if it's dropped, is dropped somewhere between the DAs and the courthouses in terms of getting these folks off the street for a long, long time. And
Chuck, just on that note, as I say, I've said frequently, we get excellent cooperation from each DA. I just want to note that.
Well, somewhere between the DA's office and the courthouses, these folks are out and around very promptly. And I'd like to know where the ball is dropped so that the public and the media can have an opportunity to focus in on this kind of activity. Let me make a point, if I may, just to complete the record. During the course of the past month, you and I have had some communications concerning the statistics that show up, for example, on page 3.39, which are the reports of felonies, major felonies committed per day. And as I understand it, those numbers are subject to periodic updating, revision, and the like. And so they are no more really than a snapshot in time. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
And so, if I am correct, if I look at page 339, I can say that as of a certain date, our crime rate is now somewhere between 2006 and 2007 in terms of major felonies a day, but that could change tomorrow if any of these statistics are updated. Is that essentially correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
The chair recognizes Governor David Patterson. Do you have a question for Chief Fox or for Chuck? Chuck, could you turn on Governor's mic? Thanks.
With respect to the sort of predicate misdemeanors and felonies, the District Attorneys Association has approached the state for the last 15 years to set a number, whether it's 3, 5, or 7, whatever number of offenses that it would be, that upon conviction of the last one would ignite longer prison terms. Until that time, neither the District Attorney's Office or the criminal justice system really can do anything about this. I mean, one of them had 46 arrests, and Korea had 43.
Yes, sir.
Which one do you think will get to 50 first?
Anyone else for Chief Joseph Fox? Back to you, Tom, on finance. We must have taken a hit in Hurricane Sandy on revenue, didn't we?
Yes, because we were definitely spending overtime money, but we weren't collecting revenues during the outage. So, preliminary October.
All right, what's the bad news?
Preliminary October 2012 farebox revenue was $315.1 million, $16.2 million, or 4.9% below budget, due to Tropical Storm Sandy. Year-to-date farebox revenue was $3.107 billion, $5.5 million above forecast. The average non-student fare in October 2012 was $1.69, and in constant 1996 dollars, the October average fell from $1.38 in 1996 to $1.12 in 2012.
Oh, say that again. I love to hear that one.
The average fare fell from $1.38 in 1996 to $1.12 in 2012. Those are constant 1996 dollars. Preliminary October 2012 operating expenses before depreciation and OPEB were below forecast by $20.1 million, or 3.9%. Labor expenses exceeded forecast by $300,000, due largely to higher overtime requirements, essentially offset by the favorable timing of health and welfare expenses. Non-labor expenses underran forecast by $20.4 million, or 13.5%, mostly attributable to the favorable timing of expenses affecting several accounts and underruns in paratransit service contract and electric power expenses. Year-to-date operating expenses were above forecast by $8.4 million, or 0.1%. Labor expenses were higher by $49.2 million, 1.1%, due mostly to higher NYCERS accrued pension expenses and increased overtime requirements. Non-labor expenses were less than forecast by $40.8 million, or 3%, including the favorable timing of expenses benefiting several accounts and underruns in paratransit service contracts, electric power, and other business expenses. On to ridership. October 2012 ridership totaled 193.1 million, 10.2% below forecast. This result for the month was due primarily to Hurricane Sandy. Prior to the system closure for Sandy, total ridership was above forecast. Year-to-date ridership was 1.958 billion, 0.9% below forecast. In order to better track the underlying trends, the following average weekday results exclude the 3 weekdays in 2012 when the system was closed. October 2012 average weekday ridership, subway ridership, was 5.7 million, an increase of 2.8% from October 2011, highest average weekday subway ridership of any month in over 45 years. 4 weekdays in October exceeded the highest one-day ridership of the past 25 years. The highest was 5.935 million customers on October 11th. That's almost 6 million people. October 2012, average weekday local bus ridership was 2.2 million, an increase of 1.2% from October 2011. Average October 2012 average weekday express bus ridership was 44,000, an increase of 2.1% from the prior year. October 2012 average weekday paratransit ridership was 31,000, an increase of 3.6% from October 2011. An early look at preliminary November 2012 financial forecasts are unavailable at this time due to the early scheduling of the meeting. We will report on them at a later date. Any questions?
Questions for Tom? Andrew?
As I believe it was Governor Cuomo that mandated the 3 days of free transit immediately after Hurricane Sandy, has there been any talk about the state paying back the MTA for those 3 days?
I believe that's part of the costs that we're going to try to put into for FEMA for that's one of the eligible costs. Yes.
We were asking for recovery. I testified last week before in Washington. I'll be going again Thursday as we move forward with the bill.
Chuck?
I notice on page 4.7 that there is a continuing increase in paratransit utilization. Do you have an idea as to the amount of deficit this entity incurs by reason of paratransit? I focus on that because we're in the process of increasing fares, and I think the public needs to know the huge amount of money that we in MTA expend on paratransit. Does anybody have that number, what it is over the reimbursement?
I'm sure we could give it to you. I mean, at face value, paratransit for the industry is an unfunded mandate that every agency has to meet. I can tell you that as a result of the actions we've taken over the last 3 years, we have significantly curtailed the rate of increase of that growth on a year-on-year basis. But in terms of what the level of subsidy is, either per rider and what the trends have been, which have been improving, the trend lines were going up. They're starting to get flatter. We can have Aaron Stern probably put together some numbers, but it's a significant expenditure on the part of the budget.
Chuck, at the next committee meeting, the bus committee meeting, we'll have the head of paratransit there who gives us a short presentation. He'll be prepared to answer your question about the subsidies. And Aaron can still do the report.
And I thank you for that, because here's my concern. If memory serves me correctly, I heard a number at one point somewhere in the area of $100 million or $200 million a year, maybe even more, that we pay for paratransit. I think the public has a right to know that the burden of paratransit does not legally fall upon this agency, but falls upon the City of New York. And that the City of New York in 1993 was able to persuade the then management of MTA to take on that burden with a cap. And we at MTA are now paying that. The reason I make the point is, in terms of where we are and where we're going, we are the people who pay fares, the people who pay tolls, and the people who help through the mobility tax and otherwise help subsidize this entity are bearing an additional burden. Whether it is a wise burden or not is a political decision. But it really, in my view, ought to be that of the City of New York and not of the MTA.
Okay, anything else?
Chuck, you asked me for a copy of the agreement.
I have read it.
Did I send it to you? I wasn't sure.
Yes.
I'm losing my mind.
I've read it, and that was what focused me so heavily on this. Because one of the aspects of it is, and I understand people with disabilities have an absolute right to get service. I don't think any rational person disagrees with that. The question is, A, who pays for it? And B, as I read the Americans with Disability Act, we have a right to charge a reasonable price for that service, but have not done so over the years. Maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should. Maybe the state or the city ought to bear part of that burden. But I think the public has a right to know they are by paying the fares that they do. The people in Yonkers, New York, and in Mahopac and elsewhere are also helping to pay for the paratransit services in the City of New York. I think they have a right to know it.
Chuck, that last statement's not true. The people in Mahopac or outside are not paying for it.
With the fares?
With their Long Island Railroad or Metro North fares. That's not actually
It's only
proper.
coming out of the subway and bus centers, is that it?
Absolutely.
Okay, then I stand corrected.
All right, on to capital projects. Fred Smith, do we have any capital left?
Yes, looking at capital program results, commitments during October totaled $9.2 million, including the installation of new security fencing at the Rockaway Yard in Queens, and consultant services to provide expertise to investigate and remediate petroleum contamination at various locations system-wide. Meanwhile, one project achieved substantial completion in October, a $7.6 million project to rehabilitate segments of mainline track along the Lenox-White Plains road lines. That's complete.
Thank you, Fred. Questions for Fred? All right, on to procurements. Members of the committee, I'm a little embarrassed to report that this is the smallest amount of procurements that we have asked you to review in, I think, about 10 years, but go ahead, Steve.
Good morning. The procurement package, which presents both New York City Transit and MTA procurements, includes 4 actions totaling $3.1 million in expenditures. I ask for your approval of all the actions in the agenda.
All right, folks, sorry to take up your time with only $3.1 million. Does anybody have any questions about the procurements which are in the book? All those, okay, motion made, second. Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
I am. We have a number of action items for approval. This month we are seeking the committee's approval of the 2012 November forecast, the 2013 final proposed budget, and the 4-year financial plan of 2013 through 16 for New York City Transit and the Staten Island Railway. This plan information, which was included in the materials that were presented to the MTA Board last month, will be presented again to both Finance and the Board for final approval this month. In addition, the New York City Transit 2013 budget and financial plan includes several major programmatic initiatives, including a service investment program and additional funding for fast track and signals maintenance requirements. We presented the service investment program to the committee at the July meeting in connection with the July financial plan. This program will increase bus service, weekend bus service, improve network bus coverage and connections, and add new bus routes to service new markets and permanently extend G-train service to Church Avenue. Also included are budget reduction initiatives, most notably Paratransit Zero Fare Program and the Eagle Team Bus Fare Evasion Reduction Program, both of which have been previously presented to this committee. For Staten Island Railway, the major initiative in the budget is a scheduled maintenance system cycle for the R44 car fleet that they operate, needed to maintain the safety and reliability of that fleet until it's replaced. The staff summaries for both New York City Transit and Staten Island Railway are included in your committee books, and they provide key financial information and details of the programmatic and budget reduction initiatives.
Okay, we're required to approve the 2013 proposed budget and the four-year financial plan. Andrew?
Tom, you mentioned some fare evasion initiatives in that presentation you just made. Are there going to be others? Because, as many of my fellow riders have noticed, it's getting to be really bad out there. I witnessed 5 incidents in 4 days recently. So what are we doing to harden the system? I mean, that would come in the budget, wouldn't it?
Yes, but this initiative is the first step we're taking to try to curtail the occurrence of fare evasion. If we find out it's not enough, we can come back and revisit it, either supplement it, add to it, or do other things. But it's not a one-off program. It's a program where we're devoting resources, and based on the information we get, we're working with New York City Transit precincts to have a stepped-up level of enforcement in a concerted way.
So if there was a program to put high wheels where you now have, a slam gates, which have sort of become sieves in some stations, that would be a supplementary budget item that would come after you realize what you've now voting for.
But on an ongoing basis, if we find we're having fare evasion in a given area, first of all, we supplement. We provide overtime dollars to the Transit Bureau for subway fare evasion.
Right, but they can't be everywhere.
Our subway fare evasion, though, is, if you remember the presentation, probably we're in the lowest 10 to 25%. Not that it can't be improved, but the bus fare evasion, where the fare evasion is much higher. We're in the second half.
Yeah.
We're in the bottom 50%. But in answer to that,
if we had about it privately,
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the 2013 budget and the 2013 through 16 financial plan? Jim, second? Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, you are approved. On to special
presentations. We have the standard MetroCard program in for your information. We would like to give you a short presentation on Fast Track, briefly reviewing the highlights of the program in its first year of operation, that was this year, 2012, and a preview of what the plan will look like for 2013. Joe Leader, Vice President, Maintenance Away, Infrastructure, will give that presentation.
Good morning. This presentation is going to be, I'll start it off and then turn it over to Peter Caffriello, who will go into the 2013 Fast Track areas. Fast Track came out of an initiative from 2 groups, basically strategic initiatives that was looking at my track construction program, and also a task force I put together called the Efficiency Task Force. And although both groups worked separately from each other, the end results was the same. We needed more time on the track, and Fast Track was basically born. Just to review Fast Track, what it means, it's to maximize the effectiveness of track maintenance activities along a segment of track, along a corridor. The idea was to reduce and enhance safety and to lower cost. The idea was also to clearly define a line segment and also start this work as soon as possible, 10 p.m. at night. The idea was also to minimize the amount of bus substitution that we would normally see on weekend general orders, but to ask our customers to use alternate means of transportation, alternate lines of service. Next slide. If you look at the productivity estimates for 2012, they are in. We originally planned for 16 fast tracks, but due to Superstorm Sandy, we canceled our last fast track, which was on the Lex line. So we completed 15, and if you look at column 1, the cost that came in for those 15 were a little bit over $16 million. We estimated that work to be over $32 million, so therefore we came up with a productivity gain of approximately $16.7 million. Next slide. When you look at the benefits so far, lost time accidents from January to October, the overall accident rate for Department of Subways is 2.4 right now. In the fast track areas, we came out with 1.38, so we saw a great reduction in lost time accidents. When you looked at incidents and delays, we saw a 5.7 reduction in incidents in the fast track areas and also a 4.4 reduction in overall delays in those fast track areas. And again, as was highlighted earlier today, regarding fires, we saw a big decrease in those fast track areas. I'll turn it over to Peter.
Thank you, Joe. For 2013, we're going to be working with Joe and his group, have identified a number of additional corridors to move Fast Track to. First of all, to make it clear, the 4 corridors that were done in 2012 will not be done in 2013. We're moving on to different corridors, one of which is the last of the 5 Central Business District corridors, the NQ&R, Broadway BMT. So this will be pretty traditional in terms of how Fast Track has rolled out. There are numerous alternative rail corridors. The only thing of note of this is it's probably the longest individual corridor and largest number of stations that we tried that we'll be doing. As we've talked in the past, we're going to move outside of the Central Business District and do 4 corridors that are outside. The A north of 168th Street, the D in the Bronx, which parallels the number 4 line north of 161st Street, the Queens Boulevard line of the EF, M, and R between Queens Plaza and 74th Street, where the number 7 train provides an alternate link between those points. So part of our key marketing strategy will be to get all of our customers who use that line who are going beyond 74th Street to use the number 7 train between those points. We have the upper Lexington Avenue line, Grand Central to 125th Street. In this case, we're taking it's a corridor that's doesn't have alternatives in that side of Manhattan and doesn't have and it has large numbers of riders. So because of the configuration of the subway, we're able to split it between the express and local services. And so two of the weeks we'll do having the express closed, so everything will be local, and 2 of the weeks we'll have the local service closed and everything express, with the local bus service providing access to the local stations. Next page. We have one that will be a weekend daytime Fast Track because it's out in the open where we only do work during the days. The Coney Island Creek Bridge, basically between Stillwell, Coney Island, and the Sea Beach and West End D&N lines, we'll do on 4 weekends that are outside of the summer period, where you have the beach traffic there. And finally, we have 5 one-week programs. So the other ones that I talked about were 4 times a year. These will be one week during the year that will hit these corridors. Central Park West from 59th up to 161st or 168th Street. The Nassau Street line of the J. The Rutgers Street Tube of the F between J Street Borough Hall and Broadway Lafayette. The 4th Avenue line in Brooklyn south of 36th Street. And the Nostrand Avenue line of the number 2 beyond Franklin Avenue. Some of these cases will require some additional bus service to get customers to their final destination, but we will continue to encourage anybody who can use alternate rail service to use that approach, which is quicker and more efficient for us.
Peter, can I
thank
ask
you,
Peter a question?
folks. Questions for our fast trackers? Yes, sir.
The last slide shows the.
Sorry, I thought you were finished.
No, I apologize. The blue, what's shown in here in blue are the lines that we did in 2012, and the orange color represents the corridors that are going to be done in 2013. So as you can see, we're hitting a significant additional portion of the system, and Joe will be able to get the maintenance done in these areas.
Okay, Andrew?
Peter, when Fast Track was first discussed and the subject of corridors outside the Central Business District were discussed, such as the Queens Boulevard line, there was talk of doing it, having riders ride beyond or ride in an opposite direction and go back, as opposed to shutting down the entire line. In the case of the Queens Boulevard line east of the Roosevelt Avenue Jackson Heights complex, obviously the 7 line is really not anywhere near the EF and M and R lines there. So when you do east of of the Roosevelt complex, I assume you're going to have people ride beyond, or you're going to shut down all 4 tracks?
Well, first of all, just to be clear, in 2013, we're talking about west of Roosevelt Avenue.
just
so
west of.
East of Roosevelt, there
Okay.
would continue to be rail service from 74th out to Jamaica, both Jamaica stations. This would be the section from 74th to Queens Plaza.
Yeah, okay.
And again, the 7 is a substitute for much of that. There are some stations that probably local buses would be needed to connect, but for the riders going through, would be encouraged to be on the 7.
The other thing I want to say is that we're trying to take the underlying principles and concepts of Fast Track and use them as the foundation for how we do it other places, but with slight modifications. The issue of whether we close 4 tracks or close 2 tracks and leave the other tracks open is one that we've got to look at very closely, because in some cases, if you keep those 2 tracks open, you do not get the economies of scale in terms of flagging. One of the safest things we've noticed is when you stop all train traffic and you're able to put up the level of lighting that is needed in the tunnel to do this critical inspection, cleaning, and repair, you get a level of productivity and increased levels of safety that are order of magnitude better than what we see under normal circumstances. To tell you that I personally am surprised at what we've been able to achieve with Fast Track is an understatement, because I always thought it would be good, but it is far better than I ever thought it was going to be. So in some cases, we may need to take that decision and supplement with increased bus service.
The other question I wanted to ask was, obviously all of these places that you're proposing to do and have done are underground. Is this not necessary at all on elevated or open cuts?
We don't work at night on elevated structure for basically safety reasons as well as neighborhood impact reasons. So what model we're going to have to use for doing some of the work on elevated structures may change.
In fact, we do.
Well, that's open cut. It's partly on a structure at Coney Island, but basically at grade.
And that's why in that particular one will be daytime on weekends for that.
More questions? Chuck?
I noticed that the right-of-way delays, which are one of the major items that you cite in the various reports as reasons for wait time on the stations and the like, have been reduced to a degree by reason of Fast Track. Do you foresee that that number, which is now at about 4.4% reduction, will increase over time, or will it stay around that level? What I'm looking for is, when Fast Track was originally proposed, one of the objectives was to reduce the right-of-way delay. Is this about all we can hope to achieve, or no?
No, we honestly think you're going to get a building year after year effect in a positive way. The other thing we need to do to reduce right-of-way delays are right-of-way due to trash and things along the right-of-way which cause problems. But no, we honestly believe the trend line needs to be looked at over a 2 or 3 year period to see the full effects of reduction of right-of-way incidents.
No, I wouldn't add to that, Tom. I think that's...
Ask one quick question.
Surely.
These nighttime activities, are they again going to be somewhere around 10 o'clock, starting around 10 o'clock at night until around 5 o'clock in the morning?
Yes, that's about the limits as we can go. I mean, we're a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week city, but there are a lot of people that are riding up to that time. We found 10 o'clock to be about the limit, I think. Peter, isn't that about right in terms of starting this work?
Right. These are all planned for 10 p.m. starts. Now, bearing in mind that the farther you are from the business district, that'll be earlier when people are leaving Manhattan, if that's where they're coming from. But again, we're working towards a marketing campaign that will encourage people to use alternate routes, which is what we found has happened in the first round, that the message has gotten out and people have used the alternate means home.
Just on, in other words, this year we did a lot of the trunk lines in Manhattan. We're going to do another one, but now we're not going to touch them at all in the coming year because they've been done. Do we have a cycle of when we're going to have to do this again in that area?
We will probably go back to those 4 corridors for at least a one week period in 2014. So they'll come back into cycle for a 1 week initiative.
So the thinking
a fortnight initiative.
So the thinking right now is maybe it changes every other year. You do it for a week, or you just.
It's way too early in the program to see what periodicity we're going to have to establish. But the idea is, once you establish the proverbial beachhead, you don't need to have the same level of frequency of cleaning.
All right, any other questions for our fast trackers? Any more follow-up reports?
Yes, we do have a follow-up report on EEO and diversity, and I've got Dawn Pennick and Joel Andrews here.
Welcome.
Welcome. Good morning. On pages 8.1 through 8.6 of the committee book, you will find the agency's EEO and diversity report, a report that will be discussed in some detail later today at the diversity committee. This report provides key indicators on workforce utilization, new hires, and complaints alleging unlawful harassment and/or discrimination that's filed with the Office of Equal Employment Opportunity and with external fair employment practices agencies such as the State Division of Human Rights. Today, we would like primarily to provide the committee with an overview of the agency's efforts to address the underutilization that appears on page 8.4 of the committee book, and the Vice President of Human Resources, Dawn Pennick, will provide that overview.
Thank you, Joel, and good morning to everyone. As a standard practice, New York City Transit advertises its open competitive civil service examinations and employment opportunities broadly throughout the 5 boroughs of New York City using various communication channels. Currently, we're on pretty much every social media channel, including Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. We also advertise all of our opportunities on subway cars and buses. We distribute our examination schedules on our MetroCard vans. We attend an average of 10 job fairs and community outreach events a month. And we also provide workshops to populations in need of job readiness skills. In addition to these marketing efforts, we have also taken a series of active steps to address areas of underutilization in protected groups. Specifically for transit, I'm referring to our females and our Hispanic populations. We have partnered with several community-based organizations, one of which is 100 Hispanic Women. And with this organization in particular, we maintain a significant presence on the organization's website, where we post all of our examination and employment opportunity information. We've also met with the leadership of this organization to explain some of the complexities of civil service in order to best prepare their membership for actually taking an exam when it's available. We also post our opportunities in El Diario on a regular basis, and we partner with Toro and Hostos community colleges to talk to prospective graduates about careers in public service and to post exam notices and job ads in their career development offices. HR also works directly with local churches, local businesses, and community boards in the South Bronx and in East New York and Brooklyn to meet our utilization targets. I would also like to highlight some of our work with our veterans population, in as much as many of our returning veterans are single mothers and people of color. With the thousands of military personnel returning from the war, transit has maintained a consistent presence at Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn. In addition to sharing information about transit's examination and employment opportunities, we have also focused on providing job readiness skills, including, but not limited to, interview techniques and resume development. While our veterans have gained a host of skills while serving our country, we're finding that many require coaching and additional support to fully acclimate to a traditional administrative and operational work setting. Over 50% of the veterans that have benefited from our services at Fort Hamilton are people of color and women. I'm also pleased to mention that we have successfully hired military personnel to serve as special inspectors in our Office of Security. In fact, with our recent expansion of our Eagle team that works to decrease fare evasion on our buses, we have hired approximately 15 veterans who will be brought on in January. Transit also administers a robust college aid program for our undergraduate and graduate students across the city. Through this program, Transit recruits students from universities such as NYU, Columbia, students from our CUNY system, St. John's, and Adelphi. On an annual basis, Transit employs over 200 college aides and interns. And we assign them to various administrative offices and field locations throughout our system. Over 60% of the interns are from communities of color, and approximately 65% are women. Over the last 2 years, in fact, Transit has hired 35 college aides into full-time analyst and trainee positions. Of the 35 hired, 60% are women, 46% are black, 23% are Asian, and 20% are Hispanic. And I'm also proud to announce that they're also active employees with us at Transit. HR also continues to work with the 10 career and technical education high schools across New York City. We host presentations to highlight the importance and benefits of careers in the public sector and in the transportation industry. Members of the HR team also serve as mentors to high school girls at these schools, and also to cultivate their interest in the technical fields in the transportation industry. As noted in your summary in your book, we have also implemented some small-scale internal initiatives to further our commitment to diversity at all levels in our organization. One such initiative is the Material Division's Mentoring Program. This program targets employees within the Material Division who demonstrate strong leadership skills and a keen desire for career advancement in the procurement field. Since its inception, 2 graduates of the program, both women, have been promoted to senior-level managerial positions. And as this program is ongoing, we expect to see more success stories in the near future. Lastly, with regard to program monitoring, Transit's Office of Equal Opportunity serves as a partner with Human Resources and is part of all aspects of our employment process. On a quarterly basis, the office provides utilization targets that drive and shape HR's outreach and recruitment efforts. Also, the Office of EEO works with us to ensure that our interview panels are diverse and they're part of our approval chain for any of our discretionary hires. I'd like to thank you for your time this morning, and if you have any questions for Joel or I, will be pleased to answer them.
Well, thank you very much. I want you to know that when I was chairman of the Civil Service Commission, which was some time ago, I somehow thought that we posted our new opportunities and openings only with the incumbent workforce so that they could hire their relatives and close friends. You have made a revolutionary change, and it's really welcome to hear it, so well done. Chuck?
And I remember when you were head of the Civil Service Commission. Do we know, turning to page 8.2, what the figures are year over year in terms of the filing of complaints for example, sexual harassment or the like?
I can provide that information. I don't have it right now.
Do you have any guesstimate? Is it up, down, sideways, roughly the same?
Roughly the same, I would say.
If you can, let's have that.
I sure will.
Any other questions?
Absolutely, we'll try to do that. Fulton Center first, the work continues to progress well on all construction contracts associated with the project. The only thing right now that remains to be done is to basically engage a master leasee. We received proposals on December 7th, and the selection committee is currently evaluating, and that will review and go to interviews. It's an RFP type process. That's expected to. We hope to actually. We trust that we'll be able to get on board someone by late spring, early summer. I would like to move to the number 7, plan extension. We have received actually from the Construction Management Association of America an award for number 7 being the 2012 National Project Achievement, so that's a nice thing for the crew. At this point, we completed 3 out of the 6 construction contracts, and about 80% of the construction work has been completed. The thing that we are now proceeding is really, and most of the work is concentrating onto the finishes contract that is a Skanska Railwork joint venture, and we are in various stages, and we expect that to be done on time. There are some potential impacts that we are seeing due to the Sandy, and they have to do primarily with the supply chain, in which some of our materials may not be able to arrive on time due to the way the manufacturers are restructuring the delivery. To the extent possible, we are looking at ways to mitigate that, and we are working through that at this point. Let me move to 2nd Avenue. The Second Avenue, tomorrow we're going to have an opening of the last two contracts that we are there is the finishes of the 72nd Street Station, and we are looking to a successful and then pleasing number at the end of the day. We hope so. The next contract will be all. What was that? We'll open it tomorrow, so we're going to see what it is.
I thought you were opening the station.
Oh, yeah, right. There will be no trains, yes, but you can come and visit. The 86th Street finishes contract will be advertised by the end of the month. With that, we will be done with contracts for Second Avenue. I would say that the 96th Street station, the heavy work is being about 87% complete, and we expect to have everything done by July of next year. And the same contractor actually also won the finishes, so they've started work on that at about 3% right now, just in incipient phases, and that's expected to be done by December 2015. The 86th Street covered mining is about 38% complete, and that's moving along well. That's much as I can say about that. 72nd Street Station, we have done 93% of all the excavation. The blasting in the cavern has stopped already since September. And then we have some more blasting in the ancillary 2 and 1. 2 is the 72nd and 2nd northwest corner. Number 1 is 69 and 2nd. And the entrance number 3 at the 72nd and 2nd. So that's going to be done by, in effect, by February. We have the latest one will be the ancillary 2 that will be done by the end of February. One thing to remember is that our mark houses on 72nd and 69 will be disassembled, and the 72nd will start in April of 2013 and 69 in August. 63rd Street, Lexington Avenue Station is about a third complete. We are actually at this point looking to see the exactly the completion date. We had August 14th, and we had some delays on that. They will not affect the overall timetable for opening, but that may be some delays on that particular station due to various circumstances. The only thing I would like to also mention is the community outreach effort. We have in a way, sometimes success brings with it a certain amount of non-participation. We had construction advisory committee meetings monthly for the various contracts around the stations. They started to be poorly attended, and we're going to be moving from monthly to quarterly. It's because there are not enough features, apparently, and that's a good thing. As well as we had workshops that we have done on a quarterly basis, and we're changing that format a bit, again, due to lack of participation and certain other issues. And we are going to have 2 workshops and 2, we call it Meet the Expert type thing, in which it's another workshop, but we'll have at various locations twice a year, twice a workshop and twice a year Meet the Expert, in which we'll bring people, and we work it out to the city that the various departments in the city that are responsible for issues around Second Avenue will be at the table, and we'll be able to, the citizens will be able to go and discuss it with it. The continuation, I'm continuing to run the Saturday tours. They're well attended, and the next one will be in January, and we had very good results with that. Tomorrow we're also going to have a project update with the community board. 8. That's about it.
Questions for the real Dr. H? Okay, well, thank you very much. I believe that leads us to the bus committee, which will start promptly at 11:30. Okay? See you at 11:30.
Anybody want to do 11:30?
Want to move?